Good morning and welcome to the Sunday celebrations here for the Centers of Spiritual Living Denver. We are a loving and prospering community here in the heart of Capitol Hill and online. We know that with everything going on, life can feel overwhelming. Here at CSL Denver, we want you to know that we are here for you. Please know that our practitioners are available for prayer work with you. Our names and phone numbers are on the website at www.csldenver.org. Or if you have a prayer request, please email it to info@csldenver.org. Reverend Elzia, along with all of our guest speakers, all of our practitioners, our music and service coordinators want you to know how truly grateful we are for your online support. Thank you for watching our Sunday services, attending our online workshops and events, and providing financial support so that we can keep our virtual doors open. We love you all and know we'll be seeing you in person in the right and perfect time. And now, we'll continue to meet online until further notice. If you're interested in upcoming events and information, we send out weekly newsletters. Please go to www.csldenver.org and sign up for our newsletters. We only send out one per week. Or send an email to info@csldenver.org and request to be put on our mailing list. This week we are having our usual Zoom fellowship right after service. If you haven't already received an email this morning, please send an email to info@csldenver.org to request a Zoom invitation. Please join us. We would love to say hi and catch up with you. That's it for the announcements this Sunday. Again, thank you for tuning in, and now back to our service.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
Good morning. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I'm Bill Carlton, practitioner at CSL Denver Church. I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and release all the negative emotions and just be present in this beautiful world. We feel that oneness of God surrounding all of us. Allow this to be in gratitude for our power of love in our spiritual practices. I acknowledge and give thanks to all that has brought us here in this moment. I release these words now to the universe, knowing that they return to us tenfold, and so it is. Looking at our beliefs through a bit of love might help each of us to see the oneness of life. Quote, if you can learn to live today and get a lot out of life and have as much fun as I have had today and be as prosperous as we all thought ought to be and be well, you should not worry what is going to happen tomorrow. You take absolutely too much responsibility upon yourself. It allows and amounts to fear, which is a natural consequence of the belief in limitation. I want to endeavor to show you how you can become less limited. That was by Ernest Holmes, and Out of Love and Law, page 3.1. Allow love to engulf the fear in and through your present awareness. And now, more music from Jeff King.
Again, everyone. Grateful to be back singing with you. Hope everyone is doing well. Today I'm singing a David Wilcox song. He's one of my favorites. It's the choice of a lifetime. I'm almost sure I will not live my life in between anymore. If I can't be certain of all that's in store, this far it feels so right. I will hold it up to the light, hold it up to the light, hold it up to the light. The search for my future has brought me here. This is more than I hoped for, but sometimes I fear that the choice I was made for will someday appear, and I'll be too late for that flight. So hold it up to the light, hold it up to the light, hold it up to the light. It's too late to be stopped at the crossroads. Each life here a possible way, but wait, and they all will be lost roads. Each road's getting shorter the longer I stay. Now as soon as I'm moving, my choice is good. This way comes through right where I prayed that it would. If I keep my eyes open and look where I should, somehow all of the signs are in sight. If I hold it up to the light, hold it up to the light. I said, God, will you bless this decision? I'm scared, it's my life at stake. But I see, if you gave me a vision, would I never have reason to use my faith? I was dead with deciding, afraid to choose. I was mourning the loss of the choices I'd lose. But there's no choice at all if I don't make my move and trust that the timing is right. Yes, and hold it up to the light, hold it up to the light, hold it up to the light.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to CSL Denver, a place, a space, and a face of love, a spiritual community teaching ancient wisdom and applying universal principles to embody the intelligence of the divine and to power our lives and the lives of others. I trust everyone is having a great day so far as we experience the presence of the Lord in all things that we do. And this morning, we're going to continue with our theme of the month and just begin to continue to work with that whole idea of that inner life, that real life, that place where we are not distracted by other things. And we're going to look specifically today at the idea of love and fear and faith and how those things work together to create a life, as they say, that is worth living, to create a life that is totally engulfed in the power, the presence, and that thing called God. Now, I would like to ask a question, and I think I already know the answer, but I'm going to ask it just the same. I would like to ask, has anyone, and if you have, if you got an answer to this question, please put it in the chat. Have any of you ever seen faith or love or fear? Have you actually ever seen it? Now, I would suggest that you haven't, but I will say that you have seen the results or the manifestation of these things, because you see, they are an energy. They are a presence. They are a way of interpreting and navigating the world. And they are an ethereal part or an ethereal misunderstanding in some cases of what God really is. And so once we begin to understand that we live in a world of energy, we live in a world of pure, positive, divine energy that takes form and manifests in our lives based on our understanding of God itself and who we are in relationship to that power and that presence. Who we are in relationship to that power and that presence. Now, Dr. Holmes says this about love. He says, love is the self-givingness of God, of spirit, of the thing itself. And it is the true reality, the real, which is free from guilt and condemnation and all those things that we sometimes use or feel when we misunderstand what God is, when we misunderstand what love is. You see, because if we go to the Bible, at 1 John chapter 4, verse 8, it says this, and I think this is just so powerful. He say, he that loveth not, or he that does not love, or he does not feel the presence of the Lord through love, they don't know God. For God is love. For God is love. So if you're not operating from this place of love, this place of self-giving, of self-knowing, of expression, which God is, then I would submit, as it says here, that we don't know God. And the purpose of being here is to feel God and to know God, because we are extensions of the divine. And what stops us from doing that? What creates this idea of separation? I would say in most cases, there's some other exceptions, but in most cases, it's fear. It's fear. And what is fear? Fear is false evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real. And it's mostly false evidence appearing real about who we are and what we are in relationship to the divine. Who we are and what we are in relationship to the divine. Now, in the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes says this: fear is the antithesis of faith. It is the negation of trust. Like faith, fear can be conscious or unconscious in our subjective mind. And if it is to be eliminated, it must be eliminated from both the conscious mind and the subjective mind. The conscious mind and the subjective mind. Meaning, we have fears and misunderstandings that we may not even be aware of, that are based on this false evidence appearing real about who we are and what we are and the presence of God in our life. And so when we're able to reconcile these differences, when we're able to move forward and understand that faith is something that we lean on, something that we feel, something that we know, as it says, faith is the evidence of things unseen. Because we're dealing with the energy, we're dealing with the invisible presence of consciousness that is moving throughout the universe. And if we misunderstand it in our relationship to it, fear steps in. Fear steps in because we're trying to navigate a true world. And if we're looking at it falsely, we make bad assumptions. We make bad assumptions. So, and oftentimes, I know for myself, I won't speak for anybody else, you know, I create this appearance of being on top of things and so forth. But there's a verse in the Bible in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the first 3 verses. And I won't read it, but I'll summarize it here, where it talks about, you know, even if you could speak in all the languages, or if you could even speak to the angels, if you don't have love, it would be just like a gong noise or a cymbal. And even if you had prophetic powers and understood all the mysteries and all the knowledge, if we had no faith, or if we had faith that could move mountains, without love, it's nothing. And so without love, none of this is possible. None of it means anything. So we gotta understand and reconcile this whole thing about faith and fear and love, so that we can move forward in confidence, in an acceptance of who we are, and knowing that wherever we are, no matter where we are, God is always present. God is always present. Now, when we look at love, faith is an attitude of mind that is so convincing of its own idea that it accepts it so completely that any contradiction is inconceivable and impossible. Before we can create such a mental attitude, there must be nothing in our subjective mind that contradicts our objective affirmation. Now here we see that this whole idea of the subjective mind and what we objectively present, these objective affirmations about life and love and the power that we have and all of these things, they mean very little if the inner world, if the subjective world is not in tune, if the subjective world is not in alignment. We talk about the mental equivalence. If we don't have the mental equivalence inside, we will not see a manifestation, or we will see a manifestation of what is inside, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, which these things are feelings. And so now we want to begin to understand that the ultimate power in the universe is God, which is love, which is spirit, and it is grounded in consciousness. That energy of thought where we begin to look at things and understand them and feel them, because that's where the sweet spot is. Being able to feel God, being able to know God by not someone telling you, not by something that you do or by something that you read. It is a feeling that is there. And by learning this and learning to face our fears, which is just false evidence appearing real, we begin to step into a place where we can say yes to life. Yes to life. So when we come to realize that God is love, this pure energy of oneness that is indivisible, we realize that there are only two emotions, love and fear. Love is the design presence or the divine activity of God that moves through all things. And fear, on the other hand, is a tool that we sometimes get caught up in our ego. And now let's be clear, false ego is more correct, because without an ego, we'd just be a big blob. We wouldn't have any personality. We wouldn't, we'd be a bore to be around. So we're not talking about the ego of self where you recognize where God is and your relationship to God. We're talking about a false ego. And when we can understand that and use that tool, we move into a place where we can really open up to this statement here. If you could see the object of your fear until you really understood it, it would no longer exist in any effect on you, exert any effect on you. You can do this to the degree where you become aware that you are divinely guided and protected, and establish your understanding of this in a definite way. In a definite way. And so when we can begin to understand that there is no objective out here without some subjective in here. When we begin to understand that and understand that we are created and born out of love, then we can say yes to life fully, and understand that there is no separation. And so as we go in this inner world, we look at these whole ideas of how do we perceive things? How do we feel things? And when we realize the power and the presence of God in our life, this presence of God dispels all fear. And it invokes in us a curiosity, an excitement even to find out what God is. And we begin to know that there is no light but God. Now, to get an understanding of how these how this emotional thing inside works. Some of you, if not all of you, may have heard this story about the two wolves. It's an indigenous Cherokee story, I think, where young man is talking to his grandfather, and his grandfather tells him, there's these two wolves. There's this battle between these two wolves. He's telling the story before they go to bed. And he says, one is unconscious, angry, envious, sad, regretful, greed. All these different things are taking over. And then there's this other wolf that is conscious, that looks at joy and love and peace and serenity and humanity and all these qualities. And so the grandson ponders this story for a while, and then he asks the grandfather, he says, well, which one of these wolves are going to win? And the old grandfather said, well, the one you feed. The one you feed. The idea that you feed, conscious understanding of God, love, light, and who you are, or unconscious, that is what's going to prevail in your life. That is what's going to be present. And so we have to really begin to look at life in a way that understands this polarity of life, this yin and yang of life, this understanding life from the inside and the outside. Because when we do that, we can move forward with this statement that says, nothing in life should be feared, only understood. Now is the time to understand more and to fear less. Now is the time to understand more and to fear less. And so when we can step into this place of understanding and knowing that whatever we feed will grow, whatever we feed is going to win that battle. And so right now, I would submit that everyone wants to live in love. When we look at the things that are going on around us and understanding how we have to navigate, and that how on a dime our consciousness plays tricks on us if we don't grab hold of it. This is where we have to begin to be diligent. We have to begin to really understand the presence, the power of God, and the fear that sometimes keeps us from embracing it. And so as we just kind of look at this and put it in a nice little capsule and begin to look at how do we step into love and release fear, these two states of consciousness, these two states that allow us to tap into the intelligence of God, I got 3 points that I think will give us a fertile ground to cultivate these ideas. And as always, this stuff means nothing if you don't practice it in your life. It's just another story. But what we intend to do here at this center is to give you practical ways to implement these ideas, these concepts in your life so that we can move forward with confidence. With confidence. So the first thing is this. Love is the nature of the universe. Love is the nature of the universe, meaning the nature of everything around us is to express itself. That is the essence of it. And it's a neutral essence. It doesn't care whether you use it or not, but for sure, it's there for you to use. And we see it being used all around us. And if we're aware, we see it in ourselves. This essence is neutral. This love, it's like a light bulb. The light bulb doesn't care who turns on the switch. If you turn on the switch, you will get some light. And so this is what we need to know about love and how it's based in faith and it expels fear. The other thing is, which I alluded to earlier, there it's unconditional. It doesn't care who turned it on. It doesn't care who asked for it. It doesn't care who seeks that guidance of love. It's unconditional. If you put yourself in right relationship with the divine, you will get a response. No doubt, you will get a response. And the last thing on this love that is in nature, it's a universal concept, it's a universal idea, is that it is there for the taking. It's there for the taking. There's no one that's more creative. There's no one that's more expressive than anyone else, except for the fact that they lean on the idea of the love of what they do, that presence of God. We've all heard those stories. If you want to find out your place in life, do something that you have a love for. Do something that you have a passion for, because it opens up all the light within. So the first thing is, love is the nature of the universe. It's a self-givingness to everything and everybody. The second point is that fear is based on not knowing who you are. Fear is based on not knowing who you are. And I would submit, in this environment, boy, it's real easy to forget. It's real easy to forget when, as they say, we hear of wars and rumors of wars everywhere we go. But we know that we are children of the Most High God. And when we can remember that and know that and act from that, all the clouds shall go away. You know, there's a verse in the song by Bob Marley, the song Exodus. And Bob says this, he says, open your mind and look within. Are you satisfied with the life you're living? We know where you're from and we know where you're going. That is the idea of how we need to approach life. Knowing where you're going, knowing where you come from. And if you're not satisfied with where you are in life, let's release some fear about who we are. Let's grab some love that is always abundant and always available to move us in the right direction. And so once we understand that love is universal and everyone has access, and that we'll move beyond this fear, we know that fear arises. Know that it's like an alarm clock when you feel fear. It's an alarm clock that you move the needle away from faith that's grounded in love and take that as a wake-up call. It's an alarm for you to awaken to your true self. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not cautious or aware of certain dangers or certain things that may put you in a unsafe place. That's not fear, that's wisdom. That's an understanding that if I go outside in the cold next week in Denver, they're saying it's going to be 9 degrees. If I go outside in short pants, I need to have some wisdom, not fear, of not to do that. And so when we can look at fear as an alarm clock, that we move the needle away from awareness of true self, now we're moving in a place where we realize fear is just an energy. It's an idea that can be changed or transmuted by right thought, right action, based on wisdom and love. And now as we understand that and incorporate that in our lives, we move to that final point is we have to reconcile these opposites, this inner and outer, this love and fear. There's a reconcile that has to take place. These things, there's one thing. But there is a movement on a polarity of a scale that is based on different degrees. The difference between hot and cold is based on some degree of change, not on something that is actually itself present. It's a degree of one thing that changes, and we give it 2 different labels to differentiate the presence of it, but it's only one presence. So when we can reconcile this and move away from anything, then we can say yes to life. And then when we understand that love arises from a coherency, from a vibrational coherency between the thing and the thing itself. When we think or feel and do certain things and move into that space, we can reconcile that by finding a coherency, a nice space where where the energy flows and it awakens us to say yes, to say yes. And once we have that, then the final point is it is necessary to generate this inner conviction of who we are, that we are beings of love and light, and that knowing this and knowing that the source of all power is love and God itself, we no longer need to look outside. We can focus within and know that there's nothing that we are missing. There's nothing that we need to try to find or fix. We need understanding. We need to stand in love and reconcile these opposites, because the only thing exists is God, the one thing, the true power. And so when we do that, we understand that fear comes from false beliefs. And if we continue to feed them every day and give them power, fear will keep us in an ignorant and an unmanaged state of life, where we feel guilty and blame and shame and all these things that really should be just wake-up calls or alarm bells, not things that we really embody in our lives. They're wake-up calls to say, I've moved out of faith. I've moved out of love. And then when we do that and we can look to the power and believe in the power and presence of God, we know that love is that power to transform fear, where we learn love for itself, to be guided and to be gentle with ourselves and to take care of all things in a manner of faith. And when that happens, we can say yes. And so as we just recap that God, love is the nature of the universe, that fear is basically not knowing that. Is not knowing that. And when we can reconcile the difference between that, we can move forward with confidence. And so as we move forward and we look at the call to actions for this week, I give you three things. First one, examine the fear in your life and seek to understand its origin. Where is it coming from? How did it get there? And then once you've done that, ask yourself, can I choose to think differently about the thing that I fear? Because we know it's all a movement of consciousness. And last, what are the takeaways from this experience of trying to understand that, trying to work with that, trying to live with that? Because when that happens, you'll have a breakthrough. I promise you, you'll have a breakthrough. And start with, and don't start with the biggest thing in your life. Start with something that has some gusto, but not something that's going to paralyze you. This is just like running a marathon. You don't just jump out there. You start and you train and you begin to get stronger. And this will transform your life. This will transform your life. And so as we look to an affirmation for this week that can help us anchor into this, I present that I give to the world my love, trust, and joy, knowing that fear is false evidence appearing real. That fear is false evidence appearing real. And so now let's just take that idea and anchor it in our hearts and in our minds and in our very souls, and let's go into prayer. Dear Heavenly Mother, Father God, that dual presence of life, that idea that everything is made whole because it is whole, and that we are whole. And as it says, let thy mind and thy eye be single, focused on God and love and light and understanding of who and what we are. Because you see, we are the very presence of God in form. Knowing that we are backed up by the presence, the intelligence, the wisdom that creates universes. And so I know that with that understanding, and as we allow it to move in our hearts, I know that each and every one of us are awakening to the idea of being godlings, if you will, the presence of God that moves the mountains. And so in that, I know and I declare for each and every one of us here and those that may listen later, that we are awakening to the true essence of God, which is us, our lives in action, to the power, the presence, the love, the humanity of all things. That all beings can shine bright so that others can also shine. That all beings are aware of the in and out that goes on in our lives, and we support them and we help them move forward and recognize that we can give love and we can take away fear. And so I know right here, right now, that each one of us are awakened. If he only just a little bit, that we are more than we think we are, that we are greater than we ever can imagine. And all we need to do is step into love and release fear based on faith of things not seen. And so with that, I give thanks for this moment, for this time, for this idea and understanding of who and what God is and our relationship to it. And I know that every day we awaken more to that idea. And so with that, I just release and let go and know that these words have already said a resounding yes in the universe for each and every one of us, knowing that we are blessed and exceedingly blessed. And so I just release, let go, and know that it is absolutely so. And so it is. Amen, amen, and amen. And so I am just so grateful and thankful that you are here today. And I hope that each one of us has found something that we can grab hold of and work with this week to see some evidence, to see some change in our life, to see some awakening in our lives to who we are. Pure love, wisdom, understanding. And so now it's that time of grateful giving and expressing our love. And so we are so grateful for your attendance and your presence here at CSL Denver. And whether this is your first time or you continue to come and be with us in family love, we appreciate it. We love your time, treasure, and talents, and we are just grateful for your giving to this center. And as you do give, please share this with others. Share this station. Share this life. Share this information with others so that we can create this world that works for everyone. And so right now, you'll see running across the screen the many different ways that you can give to support this community. Whether it's by text or by going to the website and hitting the donate button or sending a check or money order to the P.O. box. We love every bit of it and we will use it wisely. And so let's take that heartfelt giving and put your hand on your heart if it feels comfortable and repeat our affirmation. This perfect gift is spirit informed, circulating and blessing all that it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive, and so it is. Amen. Peace and blessings.
Thank you, Reverend Elzia. Beautiful talk today. Love, trust, and joy. It's going to be my mantra this week. So our usual virtual fellowship is going to be on Zoom this morning, and we would love to have you come and visit us and let us know how you're doing. If you didn't receive the Zoom invitation earlier this morning, please send an email to info@cslddenver.org and mention fellowship, and we'll send you a Zoom invitation right away. And it's not too late. Our second meeting of the book club is this Thursday, February 24th. If you're interested in joining us, you will need to have the book Becoming Supernatural, How Common People Are Doing the Uncommon by Dr. Joe Dispenza. We will meet from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time, and the book club will be via Zoom. So please, again, send an email to info@cslddenver.org to request an invitation. And please read up through chapter 3 before this Thursday so we can discuss. We had a real lively discussion back 2 Thursdays ago. So please join us. And meanwhile, we hope you have a wonderful week. I know it's going to be cold here in Denver and in the Colorado area parts of this week, but we can still know that spring is coming and affirm right here and right now that 2022 is blessed and perfect in all that it is. We love you. We miss you. Please take care of yourselves. So let's close out with I release and I let go.
There was a time